Hey guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here, and today we're gonna go over this Andrew Wilson versus Papa Gut debate. So if you support this kind of content, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And we're gonna jump right into it. But first, I want to describe who these people are. So as some of you may know, politically I'm pretty independent, right? There's things that the right says I agree with. There's things the left say that I agree with. Um, and so I watch both of these guys. I'm subscribed to both of these guys. And generally, I like both of these guys. I don't agree with everything they say. Um, but the two paths have not crossed. However, they crossed. Papa Gut made some remarks about Andrew Wilson. I feel like we're a little fallacious. And Andrew Wilson decided to go on Papa Gut and debate him. And it was very interesting. And I'm pretty sure we have a clear winner. So, I think Andrew Wilson mopped the floor with Papa Gut here. Again, I feel like, just like with Anna Kasparian versus Pearl Davis, I'm not really judging the topic of the debate, who's right or who's wrong, but as you know, in debate, who debates better is who wins. You know, a great debater can debate why a nun should buy a ketchup popsicle and be able to win a debate. You know, I'm not even saying I agree with everything Andrew Wilson says at all. However, he clearly won this debate against Papa Gut. What were some of the issues they discussed? Well, one of the things they discussed was Papa Gut wrongfully accused Andrew Wilson of saying 18 and 19-year-olds should marry 35-year-olds. However, as Papa Gut will admit in the video, as it goes on, and Andrew Wilson points out, Andrew Wilson just brought up the benefits of marrying a 35-year-old as an 18 or 19-year-old woman, and said that you could. And there's a big difference between you could or you should. And Papa Gut was immediately stumbled from there. If you watch the debate, Papa Gut said okay so many times. That is a concession word in a debate. He was starstruck. When your opponent says things and you just say, okay, you're essentially conceding the points. And not only are you conceding the points, it comes off as though you're trying to avoid further examination of the conversation. Now, Andrew Wilson has a particular debate style where what he will do is ultimately try to make your worldview seem absurd. And once he makes your worldview seem absurd and you cannot defend your worldview, you can't defend anything in a debate. And so many lefties have fallen victim to this. In my opinion, Andrew Wilson has never lost a debate that he's been in. Not even once. I can describe how to defeat Andrew Wilson in debate, and I'll do that a little bit later, just out of curiosity for you all. But let's keep in mind this too. Papa Gut's more of a conversationalist, not a professional debater. Andrew Wilson is one of, if not the greatest debater on the planet. Whether you like him or you don't like him. Whether you agree with his position or not. Same with Destiny. Destiny's one of the greatest debaters on the planet. But he's like the left-wing version of Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson is the right-wing version. Now, Andrew Wilson had a debate versus Matt Dillahunty years ago. Matt Dillahunty, who never loses a debate, got his ass reamed because he cowered and backed out. So again, typically I tend to look at a debate as the more submissive debater, the more acquiescing debater loses the debate. they lose the sharpness of their point. And that is what happened here. And we will go over the comment section in Papa Gut's own comment section and see what people are saying. Because it's not looking good for Papa Gut. He can't spin this in any way other than he lost. And he lost pretty handily. And again, I go into these things with an open mind. And I, just like a Pearl Davis and Anna Kasparian, I went into that debate assuming Pearl Davis was going to win. I went into that debate assuming Pearl Davis had the right arguments, being anti-feminist for this reason, and that reason. But Anna Kasparian ate her up and destroyed her. So, one of the things that Andrew Wilson and Papa Gut talked about was moral relativism. Sorry. And it is a playbook that Andrew Wilson goes to quite frequently. He likes to make a bunch of hypotheticals that will never happen to corner you into saying something that will support his argument. And if you try to avoid that, he will pin you down and demand you answer. And he comes off as the more aggressive person. I will tell you how you defeat that right away. So Andrew Wilson says that he cannot agree with somebody's morals if they're not grounded in a higher power. I call bullshit on this. He says that morals are nothing but subjective if you don't believe they're grounded in a higher power. Therefore, it all comes down to preference, and your preference doesn't matter. I 100% disagree with that on a fundamental level. I believe that is what morality is. As somebody who's agnostic myself, or atheist myself, effectively, I believe that opinions on morals by people who have a mind matter. And yes, it is the popular opinion that tends to win. It doesn't mean it's right. Might does not make right, but in this world it kind of does. So I would push back against Andrew's claims. And Papa Gut tries to, but it's very feebly attempted, is the problem. Papa Gut tries to remain civil in an otherwise uncivil conversation. And he thinks that puts him above the fray. But if you look at, let's say, past U.S. elections, it doesn't really put the left-leaning person above the fray. It just makes the left-leaning person seem weak. And when Papa Gut was at his best criticizing Andrew Wilson, before Andrew Wilson was on, it was when he would criticize him for not opening the pickle jar. Or stuff about Andrew Wilson's past. And being aggressive, being more, we'll say, testosterone-fueled with his argument. Which you can be both. You can be both aggressive in your argument and intellectual at the same time. But what did chat think? What did Papa Gut's own YouTube comment section say? Well, somebody here said, new debate title, Andrew Wilson came to debate, Papa Gut came to say okay. It's quite a meme. He said okay so many times. Another comment. New drinking game. Let's take a shot every time Papa Gut says okay. Another commenter. Another example of 90% of the dialogue with the leftist is them pretending to not understand the point you're making. Yeah, that's annoying too. I gotta point this out. So, on one hand, I get frustrated with Andrew Wilson and the analogies he likes to make, because I think they're pretty nonsensical analogies. However, equally, even not more so, I get upset with Papa Gut pretending like he doesn't understand certain words. He even said during the debate, he called himself stupid. That completely undercuts his whole ideology, has some left-leaning intellectual that understands everything. If he's acquiescing, basically saying Andrew Wilson's smarter than me, that kind of undercuts one of the few arguments he was going to try to use. And what for? He admitted 3 different times in this debate he was trying to troll at some point. Well, trying to troll things, laugh it off, do whatever, isn't going to work against Andrew Wilson. It's just going to make you look like a jackass for wanting a serious debate, not having a serious conversation, but then later claiming he doesn't. Foolish. And then we have another comment. This is from Willie Mack Show. If political debates go long enough, someone ends up defending incest. Now, I think we're talking about the fact that Andrew Wilson at one point, got Papa Gut to basically defend his brothers if he had twin brothers being incestuous with each other, which is kind of funny. You box him into a corner there, where no matter how you answer, it's bad. Because the whole idea of consent, right? Another comment. When a nuanced guy meets a surface level guy, and I assume they mean the surface level guy is Papa Gut here. Another comment here, this is directly a quote from Papa Gut. Why do you assume I come at things in bad faith? Maybe I'm just stupid. Papa Gut, this quote sums up the entire debate. Yeah, that's a problem. That is a problem. When you're trying to argue you don't come to a debate in bad faith and your best excuse is you're stupid, you've already lost. You already lost this fucking thing. You really, really did. Another commenter. And keep in mind, this is all on Papa Gut's channel. Okay? Trying to give him the most benefit of the doubt. Another comment. Papa Gut's debate tactic is to say, okay, and my feelings. And then another commenter said, gotta say, you have balls to get demolished in a debate and post it as a win. Yeah. Another comment says every clip at the beginning was taken out of context. Yes, because Papa Gut likes to do this thing where in his videos, he will put coming up, and then he'll show like the most fallacious, out of context, crazy comments maybe Andrew Wilson made, and put it right at the front. To try to dress it up like, whoa, wow, this guy's crazy. Look, I understand that Andrew Wilson is a Christian ethicist, so me and him will never agree on that. But, like I said, he makes his argument solid and sound, and you weren't able to defeat his argument. So you lost. It's that simple. Another comment. Just starting to watch this. Sure hope there is a pickle jar opening contest. Yeah. So that's somebody, making light of it, wants to do the pickle jar opening contest. And then another comment said, Andrew Wilson's method of arguing is like saying, tell me why the circle isn't a square. Because it's round, it has no edges, and it's 360 degrees. Another comment. Say, bro posted a video of his own loss. And we have another comment that says, it might have been better to debate a pickle jar. You could have challenged him to a duel. And we're going to do one more comment here, because most of them are like this. And that is a comment that says, 2 hours of Papa Gut not understanding hypotheticals and fighting them at every turn. Yep. Basically, that's it. I don't like dealing with hypotheticals or parables. So I just don't. I don't know what the dislike is on this. But yeah, this has 30K views. It was about a 2-hour video. Then he posted a 4-hour video where he was rewatching and trying to explain further his position in a debate. My biggest problem with Papa Gut was, one thing I thought me and him could be simpatico on is being against war. You know what I mean? The U.S. involvement in war. But he's super pro let's go arm Ukraine. And that's sort of like one of the big fallouts me and Papa Gut have had a disagreement on. That, and he has a little bit of TDS, a little bit of Trump derangement syndrome. I'm obviously, look, I'm no fan of Trump either. I think both political parties are just, two different wings of the same evil bird. And clearly I think Trump is a psyop. Clearly I think he is a red herring, a fake opposition, if you want. I think that's more clear than ever. But this guy has major TDS, and would have actually voted for Kamala Harris to be president, which says all you need to know about his intelligence level. So, with that being said, guys, I think this wraps up the video. What did you guys think about Andrew Wilson versus Papa Gut? If you haven't watched the video, feel free to watch it. Come back and comment what you thought of the debate. But I gotta ring it up. Andrew Wilson dub in what some are calling the most lopsided debate of all time. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. RJ signing out.